Hello, and welcome to the Notary Business Talk, the podcast dedicated to sharing ideas, strategies, and techniques to help grow your business and improve your life. And now, with more than 2 decades of notary business experience, your host, Abraham Zamora, the notary entrepreneur.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Notary Business Talk. My name is Abraham Zamora, and I am the Notary Entrepreneur. In this episode, we are going to continue our conversation with Ronnie Mickle, who is our guest again on this show. And in our last episode, we discussed sort of the aftermath of the pandemic and how things have changed since we came out of this just craziness of work that we've had in the last couple of years. And so the last episode was titled Notary Resumes, Listing Sites, and Databases. And he goes back to sort of the ground foundational steps that we as notaries need to take to get started. So if you missed that episode, go back. This is part of sort of a 3-part series that we're doing. And when you get after this one, get a chance, go back there and listen to that episode. It's very valuable. But in this episode, we're going to discuss tips on how to increase your notary business, and sort of going to build upon what the last episode was what we talked about. And so for those of you who don't know Ronnie, if you're new to the show, if this is the first time you're listening to it, Ronnie is the founder and owner of Unlimited Ink Notary, a nationwide notary signing service. And he also started Notary Stars, which is a educational training platform that helps notaries sort of develop and grow, not only in their business, but in their personal lives. So Ronnie, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Super, super fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'll just remind everybody, this is actually being recorded. So for those of you who are avid, regular listeners, you may have realized that in the past, all we had was audio. Now we have video. So if you want to check out our kissers, #NoFilter. I already made that joke on the last episode. That was terrible. But it's in there now. So, oh well. Anyway, check out our social media platforms. You can always go on YouTube under Notary Entrepreneur to check out the video of this episode if you're definitely interested. I think it's definitely worth your while. Now, in this episode, we're going to sort of piggyback and continue the conversation we had, because it seems like for notaries, Ronnie, right now, it's either you take it serious and you make a serious commitment to say, hey, this is what I love to do. I love my career. I love this work. I don't want to go back to a job. But what do I have to do to make sure I'm successful? Where am I missing? Where are the leaks that I have to plug in my business to make sure that I can set something up that'll last me another 10, 20, 30 years if I decide to do this. Otherwise, like a lot of notaries and what we discussed in the last episode, a lot of notaries are just going to quit. They're just going to go back to a job, and they're not going to, unfortunately, experience the sort of careers you and I have had in our lifetime. So, Ronnie, welcome to the show, and let's talk about these 5 tips. So we'll get right into it. Give us quickly an overview of what inspired you to create this blog post, and kind of what was the motivation, and what were you trying to help convey to notaries with this blog post?
Well, the motivation is I've been there. I'm very fortunate for the business that I have, owning a nationwide signing agency, a nationwide training company. I'm very fortunate, and I never forget where I came from. And these are things that I've had to retrain my brain on over a decade of business that I've been in.
Right.
Last time we talked about notary listing site databases and resumes, those types of things. Today, I really want to focus on 5 tips that can help you increase your business. Once you've listened to that or read that information, this is where you would start picking up from there. And, not to overstep the flow of the interview, but the very first thing that I tell notaries, and I've been telling them this for a long time. I teach it in my marketing course. The very first thing is to focus on who has business in your area right now.
Right.
And you all go on Facebook and you say, well, I don't like to work for that signing agency. And during the pandemic, you might not have. But what I want to point out now is you need to focus on those who have a lot of business in your area. And I say for the next month or month and a half to 2 months, take a screenshot of everyone who's sending you orders. If they send you more than 5 orders, you need to be barking up their tree and asking them, what does it take to work with you? Even if you don't like their prices, even if you don't like how they do things, or if they require scanbacks, those are all easy remedies that we teach at Notary Stars. You really want to focus on who has business in your area. The first podcast that we talked about was marking yourself safe so you get noticed.
Right.
Now I want to tell you how to work with those who are in your area. We all have to sign up for databases left and right. And if you haven't signed up for over 500, you really haven't hit the mark in the industry yet.
500.
Oh yeah, there's 500 on signing agencies on signing order alone. Then you go to SnapDocs, you're increasing to probably 1,000 or even double that.
Right.
Then you go to ZigSig for what they have, and so forth and so forth. Amrock has its own platform, Mortgage Connect, Notarize 247, Title 365. You keep going. There's a lot of places you need to put your name in the hat. But then you start looking, once you put your name in the hat, who has the most business in my area? And then you got to become the go-to notary. And one of the things that I put in my blog article was start taking notice of who has the most business in your area, whether you like to work with them or not.
Okay. So then once you take notice of these businesses, once you see, okay, this particular signing agency obviously has a client that has a lot of work in my area. I've noticed them. Then so that's first point, right? First point. What then? Once you've identified the companies that are the busiest for you, what next? What happens after that?
So then you need to contact those companies, and this is in part of one of my blogs, is you need to change the conversation. Do you have business for me is not a great lead in.
Mm-hmm.
The great lead in is, what can I do for you to help more business for your company, because you're sending it to me. So find out what they want. What training courses are they interested in? What kind of experience are they looking for? And then make sure to notate that. And then if you're not fitting that bar at the moment, come back to them when you are. You definitely want to make sure that you're asking the question, how can I help you grow your business so that you can grow your business?
Right. Yeah, I think people often forget that signing agencies are people just like you and me, trying to make a living, trying to grow their business just like you. And I think it's refreshing to have a notary who comes in with the angle of, how can I help you help your client so you look good, so I can help you serve your interests, as opposed to gimme what I want more work, which is
You don't go to the grocery store hungry, so you don't go to work hungry either.
Got it. Got it. And so what, now this is interesting, because I'm assuming, I mean, I know you run a signing agency. Are you getting a lot of notaries that are reaching out to you and trying to kind of solicit work, and how's that?
Well, I have a great funny story about this. So, what a lot of notaries don't realize is that, having access to the back end of SnapDocs or Signing Order or ZigSig, I can put a blacklist mark on you in a moment. So I had a notary call me recently that just said, hey, I see a lot of orders coming out of my area, just like I would teach them to do. But he wasn't a member of Notary Stars. He wasn't a Notary to Pro graduate. He had taken one training course, which was the NNA. He calls, he wastes 15 minutes of my time. And then when he says, I see a lot of orders coming out, how can I get them? He got to the point. And I said, well, we require X, Y, and Z. He hung up.
Whoa.
What he didn't realize was that I put a blacklist on him, and now every company in the country is going to see that he has a blacklist mark against him. I know we're all frustrated. I know we all want the business, but your approach is really important now than ever. And let me tell you, if this had happened 7 months ago during the middle of the pandemic, I wouldn't have had time to even think about it. But now you waste 15 minutes of my time, and I'm going to waste what I can of yours. And a blacklist mark, and if you guys haven't seen my blog post on Notary Stars, which is absolutely free, blacklists do exist. You have to be very careful how you're responding. So right now we're readjusting from going from being really busy to a very slow market, and we want to rise above that. And your approach to how you want to work with clients is really important. The biggest question is, how can I help you grow your business? How can I be the best signing agent for you? And this is not about signing agencies. I want to let people know the next point in this entire podcast is going to be about using your time wisely to get direct business as well. I don't want you to drop off because you think that this is just about signing agencies.
Right. I mean, there's room for both, for everybody.
Absolutely.
And there's definitely a need for both, for everyone involved. So I think it's an area that should not be overlooked. And if it's something that a notary wants to pursue, right? If they have that motivation, then I definitely think they should. But let me just, because we've heard of this infamous blacklist, okay? So once someone gets put on that blacklist, what does that mean? I mean, are they pretty much done? I mean, is there any way of getting out of that thing? I mean, what?
It doesn't mean that they're done. It really depends on the level of blacklist, and I do have a blog on this on Notary Stars, and I'll be glad to share that with you as well, so you can post it for your viewers, especially on this episode.
I'll put it in the show notes for people who want to check it out. You can just go down.
We have a video and we have a blog, but there are several levels of blacklist. So there's the signing agency blacklist level, which means you basically ticked off a signing agency. They don't want to work with you anymore. That's shared amongst signing agencies. And then there's a higher level where you've been blacklisted by a lender. Once you've been blacklisted by a lender, that's going to trickle down to the lower people like signing agencies, and you're not going to get any work. That's a whole topic for another day, but they do exist, and I did an entire video and showing that the blacklist exists. Usually when I roll this out for notaries and show them on screen, like, this is what a blacklist looks like, and they see the spreadsheet of notaries where it's texting, and then they see the black lines of how many people have been blacklisted. And here's the problem with blacklist, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because that's a whole nother topic. We can do a whole segment on blacklist. But the problem is once you get to like 2 or 3, people start blacklisting you for just being blacklisted before. And so it's like a train wreck effect.
Yeah.
You know, you only get so many times. You've heard the saying before, and I had to apologize in the last episode, and I'll apologize now. If you've been married 9 times, hell, maybe it's you. You know, so it's kind of that effect where you have to be really careful about your reputation, because all of these platforms are connected, and they all have blacklists, and they all have ways to show that this notary was not up to par.
Perfect. Okay, thank you for explaining that. All right, so tip number 2 is using your time wisely, and you were about to get into that. What do you mean by that?
So when I was building Unlimited Ink Notary, this is exactly what I did when I was a notary. So I schedule my appointments, and this is something I teach in my course. Usually I give myself no more than 2 hours for each appointment. And I know I can get those done in 30 to 45 minutes. And I won't schedule another appointment because I want to be a good signing agent. If I'm out in the field, I want to give myself time. I won't schedule anything else around it. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, do you want to like suffer quality and not be able to raise your rates and work less? Or do you want to book more appointments and work all day long and then be the second go-to notary? So I always focused on being the go-to notary. So I always gave myself time in between appointments. But when you know you knock it out of the park because you didn't rush your signers, you had plenty of time, use your time wisely and point your car nose toward the next title agency. Let's say you traveled 30 minutes from your home, right, 40 minutes from your home. They probably need a notary 30, 40 minutes across town. You should be stocked with resumes, business cards, and I teach this in my marketing course. Have every credential available in your resume, which should be in a nice folder. And I teach how to get to the stakeholders of a company. But when you're close to a title agency, and they're usually grouped together, try to hit 2 or 3 of them while you're on that side of town. Instead of making an entire trip to go to that side of town, use your gas wisely, use your time wisely, use your resources wisely, have everything ready to go. So every notary appointment that you make should be geared toward going in to get direct business. So let's just say Amrock sent me out to Lake Pleasant, which is pretty far from here, and they usually don't. While I was in Lake Pleasant, I would hit every title agency I was there before I left to come back to Phoenix. You should use your time wisely and make sure that you know when you leave your house for appointments. And of course, I promote mobile printers and mobile scanners, despite the elder generation of notaries saying I don't do that. I promote those things. You should be able to stop in title agencies while you're doing things. You're already dressed for work.
Right.
You're already out there in your best dress. You know, for me, it's a tie, sometimes a blazer, or a really nice polo and khakis on Fridays. In Arizona, that's perfectly. You should know your regional culture of what dress for business is, and you should be able to walk in between appointments and say, "Hey, I was just in the area." And of course, I'm not going to give my whole marketing spiel away, which because I teach a whole course on that. But you should be able to walk into title agencies while you're or attorney offices while you're there.
Right. Yeah, maximizing your time. Absolutely. So that's
Absolutely.
what you mean by using time wisely. Now, this third point, and I think you may have already touched on this, was changing your approach with signing agencies and direct clients. Is this what you were referring to in terms of asking them how you can help them as opposed to giving you business, or what do you mean by this?
Yes, and I want to plug, and I'll give you this video copy as well. We did a whole series last month called "What They Know That You Don't Know They Know."
Okay,
And when you
can you say that 10 times really fast?
what they know that you don't know they know. And I'll stop there. I'm only going to do it once. But when you walk into a title agency, 90% of the time, especially in the market, if you listen to the last video, they've already heard your sales pitch 1,000 times.
Sure.
And you really need to be able to change your approach with title companies. They've already heard the six-figure course notary come in that's just looking for business. That sales pitch that you need to have with your local title agencies is, how can I help you grow your business? How can I become an extension of your desk? That's actually one of our sales pitches at Unlimited Ink Notary, and I don't mind sharing it because I know 98% of the people won't take the advice.
Yeah.
They're going to do it their way, and it's going to come out differently. That's just facts. When you go in and you ask somebody, what's your issues? What's your problems? How can I help you with those? You're engaging in a conversation that they want to have. When you bring your problems to the table of I need business, they're like, I need business too. Get out of my way. Yeah. So you have to really think about how you're approaching your clients. Title officers are not just handed a book of business. They have to keep it, get it, keep it, assign it out, and trust the right people. So you have to be understanding of that. And that's one thing that we do at the Journey at Notary Stars is help you understand title, lender, realtor, all of those components. You are one really small cog in a very large wheel. You know, it's like a clock with all those little cogs, and you know, the notary's here and the escrow's here and all of those things. You have to consider yourself part of a cog in a very large wheel that makes things happen. So that's what I mean by changing your approach, is understanding the person who's going to hire you and why they're going to hire you and what you need to talk in their language. There's a language of trust out there. And when you go in hungry, it's like going to the grocery store. You don't go to the grocery store hungry because you know you're going to buy everything.
Right.
It doesn't really pan out for you that way.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to date them before you marry them. I've heard, you know,
Exactly.
build that relationship. And you know, and you, by the way, you mentioned Notary Stars a few times here, and I want to speak to that because I think there's a book I read a long time ago. It was called Zag Zig or Zigzag, and the whole theme of the book was when everyone is zigging, you want to zag, right? You want to do things that different than what the crowd is doing. You want to make yourself stand out from the crowd, and I think this is in a sense what you're saying. And part of the reason why I'm a member and I participate in a lot of the trainings that Notary Stars has to offer is because I think that's kind of the mindset that you sort of that we share, right? That we share in terms of marketing. And I think what you're saying now is different than what everybody's told. And you're right. Once an escrow officer hears the same spiel 100 times within a month, 200 times, I mean, you're a blur of people and you're just part of that blur because you're no different, right?
Well, not only that, Abraham, but I have to tell you, there's a particular training course out there, and I won't name names, but there's a blurb in their training course that says, put this in your profile. I do not miss dates, initials, signatures, or whatever. But what notaries don't understand is when you put that in there, and the last person that, excuse my language, pissed them off, that did miss dates, initials, signatures, notice of right to cancel, you're now associated with that person.
Right.
So you want to be organic and still be your own person, but have the core foundation of training and or experience, but you don't want to appeal to the masses. You need to get to know your local title agencies. And I'll tell you, I work with 9 states right now, and every escrow officer from Wisconsin to California to Florida to Nevada to New Mexico, they're all in a different culture.
Yeah.
And you only have to learn one in a local market. You only need to learn one culture of what they're looking for, how's their speed, all of those things. And it's going to be pretty the same. Even for you, in California, pretty the same throughout the California market. But then if you deal with an Arizona escrow office, it's going to be completely different.
Sure. Yeah. Cultural, it's environment. I mean, absolutely. I completely agree. And by the way,
Heinz ketchup tastes different from East Coast to West Coast. It's a fact. There's different ingredients.
What tastes different?
Heinz ketchup.
Is that right?
There's actually dividing factors of what ingredients they use based on different regions.
Okay, that's a new one. That's a new one for me, Ronnie. Thank you for sharing that. That was cool. I didn't know that. But really quick, I just want to mention that I am affiliated with Notary Stars. I love them. I use them, and I like to send people that way because for what the investment is every month, I think it's super valuable. So I did a quick little video on kind of reviewing the website. If you guys want to check that out, you can go to notaryentrepreneur.com/Notary Stars with an S at the end of it, where you can kind of get my quick little review of his website. And then at the bottom of it, there's a link you can click on. If you go through there, it helps me out financially. It's an affiliate link and it helps support the show. So if you get value out of this show, please support it and support yourself. I mean, education is everything, I think, and this is kind of the point. So, all right, cool. So then number 4, create a local notary coalition or alliance. I mean, this is interesting. This is new. This is fresh. Tell us about this.
So this is actually exactly how I started Unlimited Ink Notary and Notary Stars.
Okay.
You really, and I go into this really in depth on Notary Stars Unlimited, which is a free episode that everybody can tune into. You just go to notarystars.com/unlimited. It's a play on words. Notary Stars, Unlimited Ink Notary. Again, notarystars.com/unlimited. We do one episode a month. It's absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything to join. And it's designed to be where you are in your notary journey for a year. Our last episode was really right now your best option to increase business. Is exactly how I started mine. And when it really started flourishing for me was when I started making partnerships. You can turn your colleagues into competitors, or you can turn them into alliances. So that means the notaries closest to you, couple of items right off the bat. You can share cost on paper. Buying a pallet of paper is always going to bring down cost. You can share phone lines, websites, a lot of things. I go really in depth on this on the episode, and I'll give it to you, Abraham, to link on your page. But there's a lot of things you can do. And the way I started Unlimited Ink was really, we had a city sector. It was like a pie. Imagine a pie. And we divided it into 8 pieces. And if it fell in your service area, you were the notary. And if it fell in my service area, no matter what I was doing, it had to be me. But every time as we grew our service area, we had to divide that piece of pie. And if we ever brought a new notary in, then they got a piece of the pie. And it started out, and this was the minimum that we did at Unlimited. You guys know that I talk about, being in the multi-million-dollar range now, but the minimum was $80,000 of revenue divided by 8 people. So that means we were all making around $10,000 a month. Sometimes less, sometimes more. Sometimes we had to cross over into service areas and help our brother and sister out. But the rule was, as we grew the business, we only brought notaries in as needed. And you can form a coalition or a local group of notaries and become a signing agency, or just keep it in-house. You can protect the business that you have. One of you needs to go on vacation. Problem in this industry is that, Abraham, if you get sick, you don't make money.
Right.
If you have to go visit your mom because she's sick, you don't make money. So you can create a coalition of notaries to protect the business that you have in case something happens in your industry. That's why I started a notary signing agency, because I realized if my back goes out or my mom's sick or I need to travel, I need to be able to pay my bills. So the next step for me was to create a notary signing agency. That's something you're interested in. I'm definitely a guy you want to be connected to, because I don't mind helping people, because I believe, and Laura Beaver says it best, I'm not going to steal her words, turn competitors into colleagues.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to work with everyone, but you want to turn competitors into colleagues. You want to work close, and you can take this if you want to sound, mafia about it. How does it say? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Sure.
That type of thing. But you basically want to bring those in around you and then protect your business.
Right. Right. And yeah, and that's happened to me a few times where I've had calls. I remember one particular time I took my wife to Santa Barbara. We were on vacation. Someone called me and I wasn't in the area. So I said, look, I have somebody that I can refer to you. Let me give them a call real quick, see if they're available, and I'll call you right back. Okay. And this is before I even heard this from you, Ronnie. This is just I just came up with it, right? So I called the next best notary. I make sure they had nice reviews. I went on Google, found a notary that looked good. I said, hey, listen, my name's Abraham. I'm a notary in the same city that we live in, and I have an appointment that I can't take, but I'll give it to you if you want it. Oh yeah, right. It was a hospital appointment, or I think it was a nursing home. And I had already confirmed a price to go into a nursing home. Now I apparently was charging more than she was charging for her notaries. And I said, look, I already told them it's this much. If you want it, take it, just give them a call, schedule it. She took it. And as a result of that conversation, she actually raised her rates, which was now avoiding the undercutting that she was doing, in the market. So we both kind of leveled up our rates, and now we're essentially at the same. So in that sense, I think even so, there's different levels of being able to collaborate and work with each other. So yeah, I think it's things that people just completely overlook. And one of the beautiful things about business and marketing is that there's a never-ending flow of ideas and combinations and strategies that we can come up with. I think this is why the value of this podcast, having you on the show, bringing different perspectives in. I mean, who knows what combination of ideas we'll come up with from this episode. So yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Ronnie.
I'm glad to have pointed that out. I have to tell you, this is the teamwork episode, which I'll give you a copy of that link so you can post it with this on your website. I really want to get the word out about it. Is the pillar of why I'm at where I'm at today. I have been guilty of being a lone wolf in this industry, which I talk about a lot at Notary Stars. But honestly, when you learn to play well in the sandbox with others, your doors will open so much further.
Yeah, no, it's true. Absolutely. And it's a win-win at long term, as long as everyone's ethical, as long as everyone's honest.
I talk about that too.
Of course you do. I mean, that's why we're friends. Okay. Tip number 5, expand your services. So this is, and I got a story about this, but let's hear what you have to say about this particular tip here.
Oh, absolutely. So I wrote it down and it's in the blog, and Abraham will have it linked. But, just to name a few things that notaries can do, and I'm going to read it off the list. So if I look like I'm reading, I actually am. Apostilles, life care planning packages, trust signings, WEDI efficient, I-9 verifications, car loans, purchase option agreements, credit repair services, fingerprinting, field inspections, photo assignments, and more. These are just some things that we touch on at Notary Stars to help you expand your services. Just because you have a notary stamp, to me, I feel sorry when I see Lyft drivers go, I'm slow. I'm like, well, just switch over to DoorDash. They're busy right now. You have a lot of dotted lines that you can do with your notary stamp and a lot of services you can do in between. And I wrote this in the blog and I hope you go and read it, but here's a list of clients you shouldn't forget exist as a Notary Public or a loan signing agent: attorneys, medical offices, hospitals, rehab facilities, assisted living facilities, social workers, psychiatrics, counselors, senior living apartments, schools, real estate agents, churches, car dealerships, insurance agents, hotels, banks, jails, and adoption services. I'm going to stop at hotels right there and just point out that extended stays are usually for business travelers near hotels, and they're in business districts, and those people need notaries for contracts. They need things for in the hospital. Marketing to those people and making sure that you get into their sites are going to keep your calendar filled. No one said that you were always going to make your money from being a loan signing agent. You have two wheelhouses, very easy, if not more, to make money in this industry. So I wanted to make sure that notaries understood that when times are slow in the loan industry, and I've had to do it too, to this day, I own a multi-million-dollar company, still making multi-million dollars. I still am signed up with Rover.com. I still could go out if I should choose to and drive Lyft. I can still DoorDash. I can still do I-9 verification. Some states can't. I own a credit repair service company that doesn't even factor into the revenue that I talk about. So I just want to make sure that notaries understand you have a lot of ways to make money. But the one thing that perturbs me or bothers me is, and I have a friend that we just sort of parted ways over this, is I kept giving him suggestions. Like I got a suggestion from another notary that said Walgreens is paying like $40 a visit to every office. And, he's a DoorDasher at the moment. And he was like, yeah, I don't really go in Walgreens and tell them people. And I thought, but it's a job.
Yeah.
You have the ability, and there are some people you don't like pets. Okay, great. You don't like pets, but you might like driving people around. Some people don't want people in their car. Find something or another service within this industry that you can fill into your calendar to make things happen. Because when interest rates are high and gas prices are high, things are tough. And that'll lead into our next segment on saving costs. But I just want to make sure that people understand, don't forget the clients that exist. It's not all about loan signings once you're a mobile notary. You're a mobile notary and a loan signing agent. There's so much that you can do, and you have multiple talents that you can really access at any moment. Don't be so hyper-focused. Some of my best memories of being on my journey to be at Unlimited Ink was I did the loan signings I only like to do them early morning, and then I like to stop around 12 or whatever. I love to go to lunch with somebody, and I always went to lunch with somebody. I got my doc shipped off or scanned back, and then I would work the evening if my friends weren't available. But if they were available, I would be at the pool drinking, having fun, doing that, because I made all my money early morning. And if nobody was available to hang out with me, I'd go out and drive Lyft until somebody was. And I was still in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock, because I'm a early bed, early rise kind of guy. You can fill up your calendar with all kinds of things. And still, even doing those things, my neighbors that I love to hang out with at the time, we don't know how Ronnie does it. He's always available. He's always at the pool. And I was making six figures at the time, which I don't like to talk about because I don't want to be that guy. But I was making six figures because I would get up early, do the assignments, and then I would still go out and drive Lyft. In order to make the six figures, I'd go out and make 50 extra bucks a day until somebody could come in and hang out with me because I had all the free time in the world.
Right. And I think that's ultimately the key of all this is, if you, and by the way, you made a good point. All of these links and all of these things we're talking about, they're all going to be in the show notes, you guys. If you're driving, don't worry about trying to write this stuff down. You can always go back to the show notes. everything will be on there for you to have access to. But to finish your point here, I think at the end of the day, if you really have this entrepreneurial spirit, this drive of freedom of time, this drive of you being in charge of your lifestyle of how you make money. I mean, notary is just the beginning, and signing, working for signing agencies is not the end of it. I mean, and people I think sometimes forget. They think once that slows down, it all goes to hell, and I mean it's the end of the world, right? I'll tell you that when I started off as a signing agency, and back in 2008 when the market crashed, because I've been doing this for over 20 years now. I mean, there was no business. It was like turning off a faucet. It was
Realtors back then were selling their Fendi bags on eBay.
Yeah. And by the way, this was before Uber, before all this stuff. I had an escrow officer friend of mine who lost his job, and he started delivering pizzas at Domino's and I think he went back for like computer programming or something, and he got a job at the city. But I mean, you had to do what you had to do, right? And so I remember that's when I got into trying to get local notary work. And now I do weddings. In fact, most of my work comes from general notary work locally and a wedding officiant. But I started off as a notary signing agent. So there's so many ways. And by the way, just to let you guys know, in the future, I'm going to have somebody who's going to talk about how to how to start an apostille service. Someone else on how to actually start a wedding officiant business. You're the one that told me about him, Ronnie, at the course you took, right? Well, anyway, we'll have that. Yeah.
Yeah, we two people I would suggest that you reach out to that are part of those. Judy Lawrence from the Lawrence Institute of Notaries, which she teaches apostille.
Right.
Mark Groller, who teaches the onboarding wedding. Two great courses that notaries should take. We advertise them on Notary Stars as well. We can't teach everything in the world,
right.
And that's the two courses that I think I told you about as well. I'd love for you to have, relationships with those people because they are respected in the industry for the training that they do. And then Laura Beaver, it's actually right there with you in California, who teaches on trust documents, which is another avenue for attorneys that do trust. And that's a great, no matter where you are, trust documents are a really great thing that you can add to your resume and open up a lot of doors for signings.
And that leads back into your previous point about not forgetting about the local attorneys and the
one of my biggest clients here in Phoenix, Arizona is, I did a general notary appointment about, and everybody hears me talk about this. It's going to be like, I want to send this guy clips and just be like, you're a topic. But I did a general notary appointment about 6.5 years ago. He called. He wasn't booking as an attorney. It was 10:30 at night. I charged him $35 to run up the street, which is a normal rate. I did $25 at the time. It was $10 a signature and $25 travel fee, no matter where I was coming from. I'd never told them where I was coming from, so they don't know. And I go and do it. It was turns out for the attorney's dad. He says, "Oh, I'd like your card." Gave him the card. The next day, he started sending me out on more assignments, but I was running a signing agency at the time. I just happened to be the one to go out at 10:30 at night because I own the signing agency in the city. And it's turned into, he puts in $2,000 a business a month.
Wow.
He's a personal injury attorney, and every client that he has to do an intake for, the notaries go out, they fill out all the paperwork. There are no notarizations. They just have to take a good scan of the document, send them back, no shipping, no running back to the office. And he pays $90 and we pay the notaries $70. So we take our cut for sure, but the notaries just go out and meet the clients at the hospital or at their home after they've been injured, and they fill out the paperwork with them and collect all the documents and then just scan them up to the attorney. He only needs the scans to start the case. So it's you should never forget those. And I have other clients too. I'll save some time because it's all in the blog articles that we'll be posting. But you should never forget those local clients.
Right. And I think the message here, guys, is that you may see it may feel like there's no work, but really you're in a bubble. We're in a bubble that you haven't been able to pop yet. And I think the message here that Ronnie's trying to tell us is there's a whole world out there of business. There's no excuse why you should be slow if you're willing to put the time, if you're willing to learn and get an education and make an effort to make yourself known, to make yourself better, more qualified, to learn an extra skill, to learn how to do apostilles. There, if you want to stay an entrepreneur, if you love this new lifestyle, whether you've been doing it for 10, 20 years, or whether you just discovered it during the pandemic and you love the freedom, you don't want to go back to a job, there's no reason why you should have to. The good news is you can still stay busy, make tons of money, and that's it. That's it. And so now in the next episode, we're going to discuss how to kind of weather these slow periods by being smart about our business decisions, right? How to cut expenses and how to, how to act like a business owner needs to act. Uh, these things come in cycles. It's happened before. It's happening now. And guess what, Ronnie? It's going to happen again, isn't it?
Oh God, it's never ending. You've been in business for 20 years. I've been in business for about 15 on my own. You are there. I always say real estate is feast or famine.
Yes.
And you have to get used to that. But there's ways to weather the storm, whether you're brand new or you've been here for 20 years. There are things that even myself included are doing right now to help weather that storm and save on cost. And here's the thing. We got some cool examples for you because we're not only dealing with high interest rates and slower, but we're also dealing with high gas prices, which are affecting everything as a notary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So stay tuned. And this is going to be based on his blog. And if you guys want to check out his blog, there will be a link in the show notes to read ahead if you want to read ahead. But just so you guys know, the next episode is going to be 5 tips on how to save on cost as a notary signing agent, but really in general, just a notary business. I'm going to finish with this quick story. So one of the things I became back in 2008 was a wedding officiant. And a few weeks ago, I was called by the wedding planner to perform a ceremony here up in the mountains, a place called Oak Glen. And then I didn't know who this couple was. And I do at least 1 or 2 ceremonies a month. And apparently when I get there, they're telling me, okay, these guys are like famous influencers, social media people, right? So you have to turn off your phone. Nobody was allowed to record during the ceremony. And I was like, oh, wow. Who are these people, right? So we did the ceremony, and about a week and a half ago, I think this is the cool thing about kind of the line of work that we're in. We never know who we're going to meet or what to expect, right, Ron? It's just there's so much unknown out there, and it's so fun. And we performed the ceremony. So these people, apparently they're real. The guy has like 2 million TikTok followers or something like that. He posted a video of me performing the ceremony, a little clip, a little humorous clip. And I've had more calls from people who I haven't talked to in years say, hey, we saw you on TikTok and you marry famous people. It was just the funniest thing. And so I think, if you're not sure if you want to continue doing this, if you're maybe losing hope, please don't. Please stick it out. Please take the advice that Ronnie and I are sharing with you, because it is possible to continue with this sort of business, this entrepreneur type of business. There is hope. There's lots of ways of making money. There's no reason why you should be slow. And I hope you take that message away from this episode. So, again, if you guys want to hear this episode, it's on all the podcast platforms. If you guys want to watch the episode, it will be on the Notary Entrepreneur YouTube page. I think Ronnie might also put it on his Unlimited Ink. No, I'm sorry, Notary Stars YouTube page. And any final words, Ronnie, before we end the show?
Well, I did want to say this, but then I didn't want to interrupt you, but you asked. So one thing that I want to say is, you were like, please don't think about leaving the industry. Please don't do this. I'm just, Abraham and I have different approaches, and I'm definitely a different trainer. I'm a tough love trainer. I would say don't.
Right.
Right now, if you're in the first 2 years of your business and you think it's time to go, don't. Not please, don't. Hear us out. There's a lot of things you can do. I promise you, I've been there before. You're nowhere that I haven't been, and I make millions. And I hate to throw that around. I don't want people to put me on bad things for saying that, but I do run $1 million company, and I'm no different than you. I always tell people I'm not the brightest light on the Christmas tree. I just definitely light up. I don't want to sound like an infomercial. I don't want to sound like you can make six figures, but you can survive. I just want to bring it down to the survival level. If you started this with the best of intentions that you wanted to be the best notary and you were going to make a business, believe me, you can make it through the adjustment period that we're going through right now. It's nothing that we haven't been through before, just a few more factors. I'm not scared. If I'm not scared, you shouldn't be scared either.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm just going to say a little bit differently, if that's okay.
Yeah, and you know what? I wanted to keep going with you, Ronnie. Every time you talk about your success or the money you make, it almost sounds like apologetic. And you know what? I gotta say, I don't like when you do that. I like the fact that you're successful. I like the fact that you've achieved what you've achieved. Let me tell you something. I think everybody that's listening to these shows and follows you and listens and as part of your, they want to make money. I mean, the whole point of all this is to make money, and money is nothing
But
more than.
Abraham, let me interrupt you. I'm so sorry. The reason that I apologize is because I don't want to sound like I'm pulling people into this industry to make money. I want to be the guy or the training company, because that's not just me anymore. There's many trainers at my company.
Okay.
I want my training company or our agency to be the ones that say, let us catapult you for being the best, and it not being about the money. So sometimes I have to use that as a leverage of understanding why I talk about things, but I don't want people to think that I'm pulling them in for the wrong reason or those sorts of things. If, like I said before, if you have the best of intentions of being the best loan signing agent, I tell people this every day at Notary Stars. I don't care how much money you make. As long as you do it right, you will always have a job and they will come for you.
Yeah.
And that is a fact. I go for signing agents who do it right. So I just sometimes I apologize for using that as leverage so that I can get some people's attention, because I have to tell you, I was told I was too dumb to go to college. I was told should be better off working at McDonald's, and I found this industry. I have 2 college degrees and a master's degree, but that doesn't even matter because the only thing I really use is my master's degree in adult education. I have a master's degree in a degree in business and a degree in communications, but a master's in adult education. So they kind of line up. But for what started everything, the notary career, which I could have just left it at that, those didn't come into play at all.
Yeah.
It was really about just understanding the industry, and I don't want to be the guy that pulls in people on the heartstrings of you can make millions or you can make $100,000. I don't want to be that guy or girl. I want to be the person who says you can be the best that you can be. So that's why I'm apologetic about using that sometimes. And thanks for pointing that out, because it really means a lot to me to make sure I'm not that person, because this is not a late night infomercial. You and me are in this tonight for those who are in it for the long haul, those who really want to be successful loan assigning agents long term and know that they're going to be ups and downs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I don't think you've come across as trying to like bait people with what you say.
I hope not. That's my biggest fear.
I can tell.
Even
Yeah.
people like me have fears.
I can tell, and I think the point I was trying to make is that I think you've earned your success, you've earned your wealth, you add tons of value to people, you've added tons of value to my life in multiple occasions and stuff that conversations we've had in private from when we first met, and so I think that you should be proud of what you've done. You should be proud of what you've achieved in your life. It's not an accident that you are where you're at in life, and I guess I'm proud of you, man. I don't think you. If you're feeling bad about it, please don't, because you deserve every bit
I
of it.
always imagine myself to be there's this little photo that I saw on the internet years ago, and I'm talking about like a decade ago when they first started putting photos on the internet, and it's like a little rat, and he's like right in front of the mousetrap, and he's got a helmet on, and the mousetrap has a piece of cheese, and he's like, and it says never give up, and I'm like, that's my mentality, is just never give up. I'm ready to go against this mousetrap for my piece of cheese. But Abraham, I gotta wrap this particular one up.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So hey guys, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay well, be productive, and we'll catch you again. Take care now.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Notary Business Talk. To learn more about becoming a notary entrepreneur or to find out how Abraham can help you achieve your business goals, visit notarybusinesstalk.com.